10 out of 10 would get locked in a cage again is a statement I never thought I'd agree with, but here we are. But it's not like a real cage, it's a dog cage. But even that one's not real either. You feel? Hold up, I can explain. So, I like to try new things, especially if I see that there's a lot of other people who like it. I want to see what all the hype is about, so I go in with an open mind and give it a chance. And something I've been wanting to try for a while has been playing Otome games. I'd really like to make one someday, so I wanted to play a few for market research, is what I tell myself so I feel more productive. And while it's true, another prominent reason is because every season I soak up whichever reskinned Otome-specific isekai slop they release like an iPad kid that's never seen a cloud. Like, if you've ever wondered, why do they keep making the exact same thing with a smaller budget and it's worse and nothing new ever happens? Who is this for? It's for me! I'm watching them! Now, all aboard my train of thought here. I had the bright idea that if I love the anime version of this trope, maybe there's a possibility I'll like the source material. I know, it's a stretch, but I'm flexible. I thought I could make it work. So after coming to this realization, I realized realizingly that I needed to secure a recommendation for my first ever Otome game. In order to give the genre a fair shake, I needed to make sure I was playing a game that the community at large would deem a staple. I figured it would be easy to find a list since I see people doing that for anime all the time. I feel like reciting Death Note, Attack on Titan, Full Metal Alchemist out loud every other Tuesday is a ritual every fan is forced to do. So I went to Reddit to see what the grass avoiders had to say. This was actually surprisingly difficult. Maybe the Otome community doesn't experience newcomers that often, but all the posts I ran into were more geared towards people who were already deep in the sauce. You could have made a post! Who said that? Anyway, I did finally find a list of beginner-friendly recommendations, and the one I ended up picking for my first ever Otome playthrough was none other than Amnesia. What was that? Amnesia. Okay, that's enough. We're done with that. Now I'm about to start talking about the actual game, so if you intend to play it and don't want any spoilers, be gone. This is your only warning. If I see any comments saying, "Oh no, why did you spoil it? I was just about to play," you're gonna get the angry emoticon brackets. The game makes you choose between 4 different worlds to play through, all of which have different storylines and love interests. It doesn't tell you anything about your choices, it just makes you choose between a heart, spade, clover, and diamond. Like a deck of cards. Wow. As someone who went into the game completely blind, I just wanted to pick an order. So I started with the heart world. Now the basic premise of the game is that you wake up with amnesia. Shocker. I know. But it's fine, because you have like a little fairy godchild who talks to you in your head. Said child warns you that you need to try familiar things in order to remember your old life, so getting admitted to a hospital would not be good. And he also says that you need to make sure that you completely trust somebody before you tell them about your amnesia, because otherwise they'll commit insurance fraud in your name or something like that. Or taxes, maybe. I don't know. 2 rules. Easy. I immediately wake up in a hospital. Why? Do you have amnesia? Who says I have amnesia? You have amnesia. I'm never gonna do a rule again. I then begin solving my murder mystery with Shin. Yes, my murder mystery, as someone tried to murder me. Shin tells me that the week prior, the 2 of us were on a cliff alone. I fell off the cliff, but he didn't push me. I just ran off the cliff by myself. Right. I don't have to contemplate believing him though, because apparently my pre-amnesia self insisted that, "No, it totally wasn't him. I jumped off the cliff all by my accident self. Silly me." I do believe myself, so Shin is in the clear, and it was totally an accident. Except it wasn't. At least that's what Shin says, and he's smart, so I do what he says. The police also think somebody caused me harm, so they start going after the easiest target, my boy Shin. I don't blame them, but we do have to prove his innocence now. And Shin, of course, decides to go for the messiest option possible, which is to invite everyone who was there that night to gather at the scene of the crime for another round of Clue. He even brought along the lead pipe and the candlestick. Or whatever. I'm not really paying attention. I'm just trying to hold his hand. Shin gathers evidence while I try not to get re-murderized again. And when we all get back home, Shin tells me he's found out who tried to eliminate me. He decides to test if I'm smart and asks me if I've figured it out as well. Of course I have. Very smart. It's none other than my childhood friend, Toma. And no, I didn't have to look it up. I did actually figure it out all on my lonesome in my head by myself. Also, there just wasn't anyone significantly in the narrative. He's kind of like the only option. Shin, messy as ever, decides to create this whole dramatic confrontation scene where we corner Toma and make him confess to his crimes. But Toma's ready for it. Shin presents his case, but Toma fights back. Hearsay! Who says? Nuh-uh. He's so good at this. But now it's my turn. I just have to remember the moment it happened. An irrefutable first-hand account from the victim herself. And I don't remember. I can't help it. It's too much pressure and they're both looking at me and we're under a bridge and bridges are scary. What was I supposed to do? It's fine though. Toma just walks away into the sunset and Shin is only a little disappointed. I finished the game for the first time and achieved the normal ending. I then looked up a guide to see the good ending, and it was pretty much the same, except me remembering was supposed to bring, more closure to the situation. I also did the bad endings and died both times, but that's fine because I fully completed Shin's route, and it was time to move on to the next option. Spade World. I wake up and find out my new boyfriend in this world is none other than Ikki, a side character who had 3 lines on the previous route, so I have no information to work with. Great. He basically always ditches me for girls in his fan club. Yes, he has a fan club, and he's always saying edgy stuff like, no one can ever truly see me because I have special eyes. Well, look over here with your special eyes. See this? Now tell those girls to get lost. No, I can't. Okay, then let's break up. No, but you're like my one true love. Then literally just tell them to leave you alone. It's that simple, I promise. No, but it's actually complex. I can't just do that. Then bye. No, you can. You're the only one for me, even though I've given you no proof of that. He's a mixed signal machine. But I'm trying to go through at least one route with a good ending without having to look it up. So I try to appease him. This goes well up until we all have to meet at the mountain cabin for a billiards club I guess we're all in. And by all I mean myself, Ikki, some people who are supposed to be my friends, and the fan club girls. And there's a lot of them. They're 90% of the people there. And none of them even play pool. Ikki's the only one who actually plays the whole time. What are we even here for? Apparently, we're here for creepy nighttime walks in the woods, because that's what happens next. We're all split up into groups of 2 that are conveniently made up with one normal person and one of the crazy fangirls. The game even makes sure to point out the fact that this is a rigged system, but there's nothing I can do about it. Next thing I know, I'm running. Freddy Fazbear my buns with a knife. I've lost my shoes, my sense of direction. I'm screaming for help. No one hears. I keep hollering. Ikki's supposed to be nearby. Surely he'll save me, right? Wrong. I die. And it turns out Ikki's only here for the zipline. And that's how I got my first bad playthrough with no guide. I looked up a guide and got all the other endings, which just made me mad because the solution for the good ending was just for Ikki to nicely tell the fangirls to leave him alone. And then they did? Feel like we could have saved some time there, Eekster. Anyway, now that I've cleared 2 routes, I start to think about my experience so far. And I've come to learn something about myself. Even though I should be experiencing recency bias with Ikki, I still hold Shin as my favorite. I had the thought that maybe I'm just a loyal person. And since I played his route first, I'll always hold him as my favorite. But then I had a second realization. While yes, it's true. I'm loyal. Something more true than that is that no matter what game I'm playing, if there is any % of a dating simulation within it, I'm always picking the grumpy character. That's right, I actively seek out the most hostile, cold, emotionally unavailable character, and I pick them every time. And this time feels no different. What that says about me? I don't know. And I'm not gonna look it up because some things should always remain a mystery. All I knew at that moment was that even though I had 2+1 routes left, Shin had already secured the #1 spot. Or more accurately, that spot was reserved for him from the moment I started playing this game. Clover World next! And this time the man of the hour is Kent. And honestly, this was the most tame timeline. There really isn't a whole lot of drama. I don't appreciate what he said about my dog, but he did give a very heartfelt apology, expressed real remorse, and changed his ways. He didn't even need a ukulele to do it. This was a very healthy relationship. Although I did fail again at getting a good ending on the first try, which really sucks because the guide said this was one of the easiest routes to get a good ending on without help. So, after establishing a good green flag scenario, I lose Kent to the land of Baowa. I don't really blame him for that. Why risk your future for a girl you started dating a week prior? If it's meant to be, it'll be after he comes back. It's not a bad philosophy. Also, his bad endings aren't unreasonable either. For one of them, Ukyo just kills you again, but he kinda does that a lot, so nothing new. And the other one is you telling Kent that you've lost your memories and you're listening to a voice in your head and he goes oh, interesting. Then immediately admits you to the hospital? I get it. I can't hold a grudge for that. He's very reasonable, which is why his route wasn't my favorite. He's too good. There's no drama. I mean, I did get hit by a car, but that was kind of like a side thing. Other than that, though, it was just a sweet and simple love story. And it was the exact opposite of the Diamond World. Toma time! I actually was not looking forward to this route from the romance side of things because for some reason I just don't like Toma's proportions. Maybe I'm just being nitpicky because literally all of them have the same exact build, but for some reason Toma's just bothers me. Maybe it's like the short sleeves or like the angle of the shoulders? I don't know, but whatever it is, it's constantly drawing my attention to the fact that his shoulders are literally 5 apples wide. To make a long story short, his route is famous for being the craziest. The Ikki fangirls are at it again, they're trying to kill me, and Toma solves the problem by locking me in a dog cage. Toma killed me once in Shin's route, so I wasn't exactly surprised by this turn of events. What actually got me is that in this timeline, Shin's dumb. In his timeline, he was sniffing out clues, piecing everything together, and solved a crime that no one else could figure out, or could even decide was a crime in the first place. Yet when I'm clearly being held captive, he just walks off and is mostly cool with it. Maybe he's never been made aware of the blink twice if you need help rule, or maybe the fact that I was blinking 45,000 times was throwing him off his game. But he left, and now I'm in a cage. Ow, ow, ow! I got the objectively worst ending the first time. Even though he let me down, Shin's still my favorite, so I was hoping there'd be a Shin route in Toma's world, just like there was kind of a Toma route when I was in Shin's world, but the closest you get is technically the normal route where you escape and Shin just makes sure you aren't caught. Speaking of endings, I definitely found the ordering out of whack. For Toma, the bad ending where he locks you in the cage forever is the worst. Then the second worst is actually the good ending where you get to date him, even after all like the cage stuff, and you're like super into that for some reason. Even as Orion's leaving, he's like, okay, I guess, as long as you're happy, you freak. The second best ending is death, and then the actual best ending is the normal one where you escape. Now, even though I don't like Toma as a romantic route, I will say the boy brings the drama, and I love him for that. I mean, looking at the reviews for the game, it appears that most people either choose Kent as their favorite or Toma. I like to refer to the Kent lovers as regular, healthy people. And I like to refer to the Toma lovers as my kind of people. Either you get what I'm saying, or there's no amount of explaining that will help you understand. I'm sorry, them's just the breaks. Drama and escalation are what I live and die for. And Toma brings the heat. What can I say? And finally, after completing every route and every ending in the game, the 5th world finally unlocks. That's right, there's a hidden Joker world. You would know that this is a common occurrence in these types of games if you were an experienced Otome player. Or if, like me, you watch a lot of anime about experienced Otome game players. These two experiences are identical in every way. Ukyo is the final love interest, and apparently, according to the internet people, this is considered the canon route for the game. I gotta say, I was excited for it because I knew Ukyo was gonna bring a lot of drama, just like Toma. And I was right. There were a bunch of bad endings to unlock. And even better, unlike Toma, who was creepy in the creepy way, Ukyo was creepy in the hot way. Again, you either get it or you don't. Also, I do realize I might be telling on myself here. For what? I don't know. I did end up getting a bad ending the first time, which made me sad because, again, the guide said the good ending was easy to get, but also because that was my last shot at first timing a good ending. The only thing that made up for it was the fact that apparently that bad ending I got was the hardest one to get, since you make it all the way to the final ending scene, but still die instead of triggering the good or normal decision tree, so yay! So, final rankings for the characters. Shin remains my favorite, of course. Then Ukyo, Kent, Ikki, and Toma for prison, but he's fine with cages, so it's actually a good ending for him regardless. At least as far as romance options are concerned. For drama, though, my boy Toma takes the top spot. Then Ukyo, Ikki, Shin, and Kent. If I had to give out awards, Toma gets the most drama award, Shin gets the most favoritist award, Kent gets an award for being unproblematic, Ikki's award is for being the most consistent throughout all the timelines, and Ukyo gets one for the highest kill count. And the manager gets an honorable mention, especially the version of him that yells at the customers the Emmy. He's so right. If I had had that mindset in my first customer service job, maybe I wouldn't have cried so much. Overall, I really liked the game. I can see why it's a good intro into the genre, as it kind of has a blend of a lot of different aspects. Sometimes I feel like it was too much about whatever plot was playing out through the timeline, though. I feel like each of the routes either needed more drama, more romance, or both. I definitely want to play more Otome games though, and recommendations have been hard to come by. So if you have any you think I'd like, feel free to leave a comment with your favorites. And maybe like a sentence or two saying what it's about. I always find having a little frame of reference makes me want to play something more, as opposed to going in completely blind. I'm cool with all genres and ratings. I just want anything with drama and romance, and drama and romance. Thank you. And who knows, maybe I'll end up doing another video like this with your recommendation. Anyway, bye!